Skill 4 has a lot to do with translating English into math. So the notes that I want you to start off with are just some words that I want you to know when you see them, how you translate them to math. So first off, those words are of. Basically, when you see the word of, you should know to multiply. Anytime you see the word is, translate it to equals. When I increase something, that means to add. Conversely, when you decrease something, you should subtract. Some common words are sum. Sum means add. Difference is subtract. The word product means to multiply, and quotient means to divide. So these can be construed as vocab words, but really you should think of these as when you see word problems, and you can see already in Skill 4 that a lot of the ACT is reading. If you can translate the English into math, sometimes the math is not hard, it's just how you translate. So I've given a couple examples here as far as translating. Let's try to translate these first 5 and see if we can use the vocab that I just gave you. So a number. Most of the time in math, we substitute a number for x. Is increased by 5. Is means equals 14. So again, if I take a look at this equation, if I translate and then I'm asked to find the number, usually we're pretty good with our algebra, and our algebra would just be subtract 5 from both sides, and we would get x equals 9. The second example would be twice a number. So if a number is x, twice the number would be 2x. Decreased means subtract by 5 is 22. And again, if I just take a minute when you're on the ACT, remember you can write right in your test booklet. If you take a minute to translate the English into math, sometimes doing the math is not so difficult. When you were going over your practice test, I noticed that the percentages were kind of hard problems. So I've set these 3 types of problems up, and again, what you want to do is translate your percent problems first to math, and then let's go through how to solve that. So if I just take this example number 3, 45 is what percent of 120, and I translate that to math, let's see what I get. So 45 is 45. Is, remember, means equals. What percent, that's what we're trying to figure out. So I'll just put what percent. Of means multiply. And I get 120. So again, let's look at this equation as far as a mathematical equation. I want to solve for p, so I have to get rid of this 120. So to get rid of 120 on the right hand side, since it's at times, I would divide both sides by 120. Again, now take out your calculator. If I divide 45 by 120, I will get some decimal, and that decimal would be 45 divided by 120 would be 0.375. But now look at the word problem. It says what percent is that? So we learned last time that we move the decimal over 2 places and we put our percent sign. So looking at that, that's how you're going to kind of set up your problems. What do you want to first do? The first thing you want to do is change the English to math. Let's try that. So in example 4, it says 15% of something. So again, remember how we translate 15%? 15% is 0.15 Of means times. This says what number, so usually we use X for what number. Is means equals 300. So once we translate this into a math equation, and if I want to solve for X, think about our algebra. Our algebra says that if I'm multiplying, if I want to solve for X, I'm going to do the opposite. So the opposite of multiplying is to divide. And again, take out your calculator. We're finding what X is. So we would just take 300 and divide it by 0.15. So the final answer would be 2,000. And let's see if that makes any sense. 15% of 2,000 is 300. Well, yeah, because we know that half of 2,000 is 1,000. So, you know, we're a lot less than half, and that answer should make sense. So, again, with percent problems, I think the first thing that you want to do is translate into English and translate your English into math, and then look at your equation. It takes a little longer, but it's a lot easier that way. So I've got an example. Number 5 is 42%. Again, 42% is 0.42. Of means times. 100 is what number? So here, this is just we don't have to solve for this. This just says multiply that out. So 0.42 times 100 is going to be 42. So practice translating English into math, and then once you do that, I think it will help you solve these word problems. Example 6 says the product. So the product of two consecutive even integers. So the product, I'm looking for a multiply of something. Okay. Now what is an even integer? An even integer is 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're looking for some consecutive means one after the other. Is means equals. Okay. So if I'm looking for consecutive numbers, I might have 2 times 4. I could have 4 times 6. So you kind of get the idea that if you translate the English into math, sometimes it's a lot easier to look at numbers than it is to look at your English. The sum means add. So I have the sum. I know I'm going to be adding something. It says a number. I don't know what that number is, so X might be a good choice for that. And 1/4 of the number. 1/4 the number equals what? Again, you kind of get an idea that I'm taking all of these words and I'm changing them into an equation. So in Skill 4, a lot of Skill 4 has to do with word problems, and I want you to practice translating English into math and then solve. So 5 times, let's take a quick translate. 5 more than means more than twice a number is. And then if they give us that value, all we have to do is plug in that value and solve for X. Ten more than 4 times a number. 4 times a number is means equals 46. Again, let's take a look at this equation now. And our equation is a 10 plus 4x equals 46. We know how to solve this algebraically. Get rid of the 10, divide by 4, and look in your multiple choice answers. Finally, number 10, I've just practiced 6 times a number. So 6 times the number, what is the number? Usually put in x, equals 21 more than 3 times the number. And then we need to solve for x. So just a quick translate, then sometimes when we solve, we know to add 3 to both, 3 more than, that should have been a plus. I don't know what's wrong with my pen. Plus. Then I want to solve for x, so I'd subtract 3 from both sides. I get 3x equals 21. Stop. Look for your multiple choice answers, and you see that x equals 7. So that's the first part of skill 4. A lot of translating. Try the first couple examples and example 4, and then come back and do the algebraic fractions.